Kodak Black, born Deuce and Octave, isn't just a chart-topping rapper, he's also got a criminal record that's as extensive as his discography. Before his latest 2026 arrest, his history was already packed with serious offenses that have shaped how law enforcement and the public view him, and I can prove it. Most famously, Kodak was federally convicted in 2019 for falsifying firearm purchase documents. He pleaded guilty to knowingly lying to buy guns and ended up with a 46-month prison sentence. It wasn't the end of his legal drama, though. President Trump commuted that sentence in 2021, cutting his time short. Great, right? Except he still remained on supervised release, keeping him on a tighter leash with law enforcement than your average citizen. In 2022, Kodak's legal troubles dug even deeper. Following a traffic stop in Florida, cops found 31 oxycodone tablets and nearly $75,000 in cash in his car. That led to a trafficking charge and added probation and drug testing violations to his growing file. Apparently, rehab wasn't quite sticking because he showed multiple drug test failures while under supervision, but it's not just the big felony cases. There's been a steady pattern of trespassing arrests and run-ins with strict court-ordered restrictions. For example, after showing up where he wasn't allowed in a public housing project, he was arrested and his Lamborghini, yes, Lamborghini, was towed. That's like being booked for trespassing while your ride looks like it should be on a yacht. All these cases paint a picture of a repeat offender constantly balancing celebrity status with chronic legal troubles. This backdrop has heavily influenced how prosecutors push charges against him and how judges set the conditions of his bond. It also sets the stage for how the public reacts, with a mix of outrage, skepticism, and fatalistic acceptance. By the time of the May 2026 MDMA trafficking arrest, Kodak Black was no stranger to the system. His prior brushes with federal weapons charges, controlled substance trafficking, and probation violations meant he was already under intense scrutiny. And that's exactly why bail was set high and rehab was ordered alongside the drug trafficking charge. Law enforcement was treating him as a known risk, not a first-time offender. But if you think a history like that is wild, wait until we dig into what kicked off this latest case, the November 2025 gunshots call in Orlando that put Kodak back on the radar. November 2025, Orlando gunshots call. The night started with a bang, literally. Police responded to reports of gunfire near the Children's Safety Village in Orlando, alerted by residents worried about shots ringing out in a public safety zone. But when officers arrived at the scene, the situation was anything but straightforward. Instead of chaos and violence, they found Kodak Black and a small group of people casually gathered around two luxury SUVs, a BMW and a Lamborghini. No shots had been fired there, and no injuries were reported. So why was the rapper there, and what really drew the officers' attention? Here's the thing. The presence of those high-end vehicles and a famous rapper made the whole scene instantly suspicious in a way a regular gathering wouldn't be. Officers quickly picked up on the distinct smell of freshly burnt cannabis wafting from the Lamborghini SUV. That, combined with a curious detail, a white substance spotted on cash inside the Lamborghini, gave police probable cause to search the vehicle on the spot. What started as a response to a potential shooting shifted rapidly into a drug investigation. Before you roll your eyes and think, oh great, another celebrity drama, hear me out. The luxury cars and celebrity presence weren't just background noise here. It shaped everything. Police officers often approach scenes differently when there's flashy wealth and a high-profile figure involved, especially when it's late at night near a children's facility, no less. There's an automatic assumption that something illegal, like drug trafficking, could be happening. The rapper's name carries weight, and with that came heightened scrutiny. No guns were found, and no shooting victims came forward, so the guns went from the center of attention to barely a footnote. Instead, the focus homed in on suspected narcotics. The cannabis smell wasn't just an annoyance, it was the legal hook officers needed to justify searching the Lamborghini, which is where the whole drug case began. It's a fascinating escalation from what should have been a routine call about public safety to an intense investigation into narcotics trafficking, all spurred by sensory clues and the company the rapper kept. And that's not just speculation. The police reports and arrest paperwork make it clear. The initial call was about gunfire, but the cannabis smell and the sight of the white powder residue took the scene in a very different, more consequential direction. This moment set the stage for everything that followed: a drug bust, scapegoating a rapper's flashy lifestyle, or so the defense will argue. But it's the reality the police worked with that night. But if you think this is just celebrity meets cops drama, wait until we dig into the actual discovery inside the Lamborghini and what those drugs and stacks of cash mean for Kodak Black. Next up, discovery of drugs, cash, and documents. The moment officers searched the Lamborghini tied to Kodak Black is where this case really sharpens into focus. Inside the car, they found a pink bag containing containing about 25 grams of MDMA, the kind of quantity that qualifies as trafficking under Florida law. Alongside it, a staggering $37,000 in cash and paperwork with Bill Capri's name, that's Kodak's legal name, right there in the bag. Now, what's wild is how social media played a surprising role here. Investigators compared that pink bag to photos posted on Kodak's Instagram. The bag in the posts matched exactly with the one seized, linking the physical evidence directly to him. That's the 21st century cat and mouse game for you. Your online bling can become courtroom evidence, but don't think this was a slam dunk from the start. At the scene, Capri denied owning the pink bag altogether, but he admitted the cash was his, claiming it came from his business. So right away, you've got conflicting stories about actual possession. Deny the drugs, claim the money. Classic. Things got more complicated because initial field tests threw everyone off. Some substances tested positive for cocaine on site, but lab tests later revealed they were oxycodone, a prescription drug Capri said he had. That initial confusion spotlighted the challenges officers and prosecutors faced distinguishing drug types in the heat of an arrest. Still, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement's lab confirmed the pink pills found weighed around 25 grams and were definitely MDMA. That quantity pushes the charge well beyond personal use into trafficking territory. Combine that with the cash and the documents bearing Capri's name, and prosecutors see a clear distribution picture. And the scene around the Lamborghini wasn't some random hangout either. Officers responded after reports of gunshots near a Children's Safety Village facility in Orlando. People were gathered outside two SUVs, the BMW and the Lamborghini, late at night amid that tension. The presence of luxury vehicles mixed with drugs and cash adds a layer of celebrity glam, clashing against a serious police narrative. The Instagram connection can't be understated here either. It's almost like Kodak's flashy online lifestyle broadcasted evidence straight to investigators. Posting that distinctive pink bag online was probably not his smartest move, especially when it turns up in a case alleging drug trafficking. Yet there's room for debate. Since multiple people were around the vehicles, the defense might argue someone else slipped the drugs in, or that Capri had no direct control. But finding his paperwork inside the very bag with the drugs and cash complicates that story and gives prosecutors a heavy piece of circumstantial proof. One thing is clear: the mix of denial, admission, social media proof, and physical evidence paints a messy but potent picture of the state's case. This discovery isn't just about what was found, it highlights the modern dynamics of policing celebrities whose lifestyle and online presence become part of the criminal narrative. But if you think this scene is the toughest part for Capri, just wait until we break down the FDLE's lab testing process and how these findings shaped the formal charges. FDLE testing and charge development. The official MDMA trafficking charge against Kodak Black didn't just appear overnight. It was the result of a slow, behind-the-scenes forensic process that stretched over several months. It all began with the initial drug seizure during that Orlando police response to gunshots near the Children's Safety Village. But months later, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement delivered their lab report confirming the substance was indeed MDMA, and crucially, in an amount crossing the legal threshold for trafficking. Here's the thing: Florida law sets the MDMA trafficking threshold at 10 grams or more, not 14. The FDLE's report pegged the quantity in Kodak's case at about 25 grams, putting it squarely in trafficking territory with multi-year prison sentences. The trafficking bracket prosecutors used covers anything from 10 grams up to 200 grams, a broad but serious range the courts take very seriously. That gap between seizure and lab confirmation isn't unusual. Forensic labs juggle multiple cases and prioritize based on severity. But it's key here, because without the FDLE's precise testing and official report, prosecutors wouldn't have had the solid proof needed to pursue trafficking charges instead of just possession. The arrest warrant itself tells a detailed story built to hold up under scrutiny. It starts with the gunshots call that brought officers to the scene, notes detecting freshly burnt cannabis, and spotting suspicious white powder on a $100 bill inside the luxury Lamborghini. Those sensory cues set up probable cause for the search. The warrant zooms in on finding a pink bag containing what later tested as MDMA, about $37,000 in cash, paperwork linking the bag to Kodak, and matching Instagram posts showing a similar pink bag. All these pieces form a strong legal narrative. But But here's where it gets messy. Media reports during the arrest often mixed up the substances involved. Some outlets ran stories about cough syrup and oxycodone, which were part of related or previous investigations, but not what the trafficking charge focused on. For example, a viral video showed Kodak seemingly sipping something fans assumed was codeine-laced lean, but his attorney clarified it was just juice used as a prank. Meanwhile, earlier field tests flagged some white powder as cocaine, but lab results later confirmed it was oxycodone, a legally prescribed medication for Kodak. This swirl of different drugs in the media made it tough for casual observers to separate fact from rumor. The bottom line, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement's lab report is the linchpin, tying the trafficking charge strictly to MDMA and nothing else. Strategically, the timing of the arrest after months of forensic work wasn't accidental. Taking down a celebrity like Kodak Black requires precise coordination. Law enforcement needed to manage not just the legal side, but the media frenzy that inevitably follows high-profile arrests. Waiting until right after lab confirmation meant an ironclad charge backed by solid evidence, stopping leaks and speculation before they started. It also gave prosecutors a clear story. This isn't just possession, it's trafficking with firm proof. That said, the arrest timing shows law enforcement walking a fine line between public relations and legal procedure. Kodak's attorney described a coordinated surrender, which suggests efforts to keep things orderly and reduce risks, while still sending a hard message on trafficking allegations. In summary, the gap between seizure and lab report was a vital, invisible phase in building this case. The FDLE's report provided the forensic backbone to charge Kodak Black with trafficking between 10 and 200 grams of MDMA, a serious charge with heavy penalties. The detailed warrant links everything from the initial gunshots call to searching the vehicle, discovering the pink bag, and matching social media images, weaving a complex but coherent legal story. Meanwhile, media confusion over cough syrup and oxycodone shows how tough it is to control narratives in celebrity cases. Ultimately, the timing and framing reveal a calculated effort to navigate both law and public opinion. But if you think the forensic delays and charge details are intense, wait until we get into what actually went down during Kodak Black's arrest, bond hearing, and the tense court battles that followed. May 2023, arrest, bond, and court proceedings. Kodak Black's arrest on May 6, 2023 in Florida wasn't just another headline. It was yet another intense chapter in his already long-running saga with the law. This time, the charges were serious. Multiple felony counts involving drug possession and firearm-related offenses. The arrest came after investigations linked him directly to illegal substances and weapons, reigniting media and public focus on his troubled past and ongoing struggles to stay out of legal trouble. Before you even blink, that $75,000 bond might seem like a sky-high number. But the judge was crystal clear. Capri, Kodak's legal name, carries a significant history of felony convictions layered on top of each other. The charges weren't minor infractions. They involved serious drugs and weapons violations, making the stakes much higher than a typical case. Given that background, the judge made it clear there would be no second chances handed out lightly. The bond was steep, but honestly, not surprising. It was Kodak's past catching up with him. Kodak entered the courtroom and pled not guilty straight away at his arraignment. No hesitation, no plea deals on the table yet. He promptly requested a jury trial and immediately waived several preliminary hearings. That last move actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Why sit through dragging out hearings if you're preparing to fight every charge tooth and nail? Streamlining the process lets his legal team focus all their energy on one thing: building a bulletproof defense. They want to get to the core of the allegations without unnecessary delays. Rehabilitation issues also played a role here, highlighting how the court views Kodak's problems not as isolated incidents, but as a recurring pattern. The judge ordered him to enter a court-approved treatment program, specifically targeting substance abuse, an acknowledgement that punishment alone won't fix deep-rooted struggles with addiction. It's a reminder that the legal system is sometimes forced to juggle justice with attempts to steer offenders back on track, especially amid concerns that jail time without treatment just isn't enough. Then, as if this wasn't complicated enough, a few weeks after the arrest, Kodak was cited for a traffic violation that spun off more legal headaches. This added fresh pressure on his bond conditions and threw fuel on the fire of his already tarnished public image. The traffic incident served as a stark reminder that Kodak's legal troubles are far from wrapped up and seem interconnected in a way that keeps dragging him deeper into court battles. The defense team fought back hard against the charges. They dismissed the prosecution's case as an overreach, carefully tearing apart the evidence bit by bit. One of their key arguments: the searches carried out when Kodak was arrested may have violated his rights because probable cause wasn't properly established. This challenges the legality of how evidence was obtained from the start. They are also pushing back against the use of social media posts as concrete proof, arguing that just because something shows up online doesn't mean Kodak actually owns what was found or is guilty. Social media evidence is a murky area, and the defense is exploiting those gray zones. This messy courtroom drama perfectly captures the tangled clash of celebrity, digital age evidence, and today's criminal justice system. For high-profile defendants like Kodak, every move is scrutinized, not just by judges and juries, but by millions of online followers and news outlets hungry for drama. Every social media post, every viral video clip turns into either a weapon or a shield in the court of law and public opinion alike. It's a double-edged sword nobody wants, but everybody has to deal with. So, to sum it all up, the May 2023 arrest, the hefty bond, and the court-ordered rehab program reveal much more than just another celebrity legal case. They spotlight the brutal reality of a star caught in a revolving door of repeated legal troubles, tangled prior convictions, intense public spotlight, and alleged ongoing issues. It's a high-stakes balancing act between mounting defense strategies, relentless prosecution pressure, mandated treatment, and the unblinking eyes of a public watching every step. And as long as these elements collide, Kodak's story isn't going anywhere anytime soon. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.